now joined by Charlie Daniels. How are you today, Charlie?
I'm doing well, thank you very much.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to get on the phone here with you. Enjoyed your music for many, many years. Saw you live over the years, and you know what a career you've had. I mean, what an amazing run. I mean, to have one of your first songs, "It Hurts Me," covered by Elvis. What was that like when you heard Elvis doing one of your songs you wrote?
It was the most fantastic thing that had ever happened to me, career-wise, in my life. It was Elvis was the biggest artist in the world at the time.
Sure.
And though we ended up with a B-side, which Kissing Cousins was the A-side,
yep,
because it was after a movie that he had made, they actually played both sides of an Elvis Presley record back then. They played one for a while, then they turned it over and played the other side. So it was almost like having a single out on it. It was great. It was so gratifying to hear somebody play a Elvis song on the radio, and I knew that I'd help write it. It was an incredible thing.
Well, that must have been inspiration to go out and do your thing. I know you did sessions for years, and of course played on so many records, collaborated with the Marshall Tucker Band on so many great records, and you know, all your solo career. You know, tell us about that era when you know your song, you know, Devil Went Down to Georgia came out, and the whole Urban Cowboy movie was out. What was that like to all of a sudden get that big bump?
Well, that was it was pretty doggone incredible. Devil Went Down to Georgia when it first came out, when it was not the first single released off the record, but when it came out as a single, it immediately took off across the country on country radio and pop radio.
Sure. And
it was one of the most amazing things that I've ever seen happen. It happened real quick, and we immediately started, you know, getting requests to our first overseas tour, real tour overseas that we did. It was an international hit in that it played in places that didn't speak English, which kind of surprised me. But it was about as incredible an experience as I could imagine.
Can you ever try and figure out what it was about that song that just connected?
Well, you can't really not actually put a finger on what it was. There were a lot of things. It was the right place at the right time. It was the combination of the fiddle thing, and the fiddle was different than anything that was going on at that time. There just wasn't any fiddles on radio.
Sure. And
that was a novelty. The song was a novelty. Everybody likes to see the devil lose. So a combination, a bunch of stuff. It was also the kind of song that went across the board demographically. It was not confined to any one particular demographic. Older people liked it. Younger people liked it. Different kinds of radio could play it. It was a combination of things. A combination of things that you rarely hit on.
Well, one of my great memories around that time was I saw you open for Leonard Skinner at the Miami Marine Stadium with that floating stage. You remember that spot?
I remember that. I remember that night because they oversold that show, and things started getting kind of nasty.
I know. People were in the water, and it was wild. By the time Freebird kicked off, it was insane.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Well, I know we're celebrating an incredible 40 years of the Volunteer Jam. Take us back to the impetus of starting that. 40 years ago, what was the idea, and tell us about the evolution of the Volunteer Jam.
Volunteer Jam started as a live recording session. We were doing an album called Fire on the Mountain, and we wanted to do 2 live cuts, Orange Blossom Special and No Place to Go. And about the only place we could draw a crowd at the time was in our hometown of Nashville. So we booked a hall and booked some recording equipment, and I casually invited some friends of mine to drop by and jam with us that night if we're going to be in town. And that first year, Toy Caldwell and Paul Riddle and Jerry Eubanks and the Marshall Tucker Band showed up, and Dickie Betts from the Allman Brothers Band. And we didn't let anybody know they were there. We just brought them out on stage. Both bands were hot as a firecracker in Nashville at the time, and people were just so thrilled to see them, without even knowing they were there. And the show just took on a kind of a aura of its own. It just was obvious that, hey, this is something we need to continue doing. So we did for a long time, and then finally got to the point it was just really hard to get a meaningful roster of talent into my little office staff at work. My office staff really was about all they could do for a good little while was to put on a voluntary jam. And so we decided we just wouldn't do it for a while, and then decided to do it. The city of Nashville wanted it. The Nashville Predators wanted it. We did play in Bridgestone Arena. So we thought, well, let's give it a shot. So we did, and it turned out to be a real big deal. It worked out really well.
Well, I know this year at the 40th anniversary, of course, you've had an incredible lineup. Besides your band, you had Ted Nugent and Trace Adkins, Alabama, Terry Clark, Billy Ray Cyrus, and Lee Greenwood, Kentucky Headhunters, Tracy Lawrence, Oak Ridge Boys, Winona, Travis Tritt, Montgomery Gentry. I mean, everybody from Skinner to Jamie Johnson,
Skinner, yeah,
Eric Church. I mean, what a lineup! Is it just snowballed every year? I mean, to have that many people show up, what do you think the reason was this year?
Well, for one thing, it was a kind of a novelty in that we haven't done one in a long time.
Sure.
And there's a whole generation of new musicians out that had heard about, and people and fans that had heard about the volunteer jam but had never seen one. And so I think it was a novelty for one thing. And then this year, when I sent the letters of invitation out and I started getting the RBSPs back, it was just incredible. They kept coming in, kept coming in, kept coming in. And, it was like, wow, we got to plan real hard to get everybody on. And we did. We got everybody on. And everybody, the crowd had such a good time, and we did too. It was a great night for CDB. We just loved it.
Well, definitely a part of history. I know you raised over $300,000 for the Journey Home Foundation. Tell us about that foundation and what that means to you.
Journey Home Foundation is a charity that we started, some friends of mine and my manager and myself started to try to help our veterans transition from a life in the military to a life as a civilian, which sounds like nothing at all to us people who have never tried it. It seems that we would just take off one uniform, put on street clothes, and that'd be it. But that's not the way it is. There's a lot of transition that needs to take place a lot of times to get back into civilian life. So our goal is to help our men and women who have served, a lot of them from war zones, to transition back into civilian life. It could be an education they need, maybe a college education. We've done such things as buy furniture for people who didn't have any. So whatever the needs of the veteran is, we try to help them.
Well, I know it's an incredible year, and you've got the live at Billy Boy's Texas coming out. Tell us about the
live at Billy Bob.
Well, Billy Bob's with. I know you have Willie Nelson and Merle Haggard and Gary Stewart.
Well, that's just the people who have done an album.
Okay.
In this same series, actually, we're actually just CDB there. It's Billy Bob's a big old Texas honky tonk where people come to have fun.
Sure.
And so we just went in and had a bunch of fun with them and played our show. It's basically just the CDB set for 2015. We just went in and played our set. They recorded it. And so it's truly live at Billy Bob's. That's what it's all about.
Well, we can't wait to celebrate that with you. And I know over the years you're not only a member of the Grand Ole Opry and Musicians Hall of Fame, but you've been a winner of Grammys and ACMs and CMAs and GMAs and over 6 multi-platinum albums. What is the honor that means the most to you?
Well, I think if I had to name one particular accolade that had been given me the last few years, it would be becoming a member of the Grand Ole Opry, because it's been a lifelong desire of mine to do that.
To just be a member of that
being a member of the Opry. Absolutely. I was 70 years old when it happened. I didn't know if I ever would or not. It was just such an honor, such a great thing.
Well, that's such an amazing feat. We congratulate you on all that and the great music to come. Over the years, what of all you've learned, what advice do you have to those young singers, the young musicians, the young bands coming up today? What do they need to concentrate on to have a shot?
learn how to entertain people. Don't depend on hit records. Don't depend on image. Don't depend on looking good in a pair of tight jeans all your life, because you're not. Learn how to entertain. Learn how to go on stage, and just because you're on stage, that people are going to like you.
Well, Charlie, it's always a pleasure. Congratulations on the 40th anniversary Volunteer Jam. And, of course, everybody needs to go out and check out Live at Billy Bob's coming up, the CD and DVD. Thank you so much. I know not only 40 years of the anniversary jam, but we want to be one of the first to congratulate you as you approach 80 years on this planet. What a treasure. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Enjoyed talking to you. Appreciate it.